Fantastic. We are here with another episode of the Sales Confidence Podcast. My name's James Ski, the CEO and founder of Sales Confidence, and I've got the wonderful Tom Lavery, who is the founder of Jiminny, with us today. How are you doing, Tom?
Hey, James. How you doing? Great to be here.
Appreciate Excellent. It. I'm glad. What are you most excited about today, Tom?
Excited about today? I'm actually going out for dinner with a friend tonight, and I don't often have a social life, so it's nice to actually be doing something normal. So I'm meeting a mate in town and going out for dinner. So I'm excited about that. Other than, of course, recording this with you.
Of course,
the other thing that's top of my list.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I wouldn't expect anything less than being excited about this conversation, Tom. We've had a few recently, and it's fun to see what Jiminny's up to. So we're going to break this down today, learn a bit about you as an individual, find out about the man behind Jiminny, learn about Jiminny as a business, what's exciting, what's the DNA of the company, and then learn about where you are and where you've got your confidence from. So as an introduction, what's the first thing you think about when you wake up?
I thought about this and I have to answer it honestly. So Jiminny, probably most of the time, because it never quite leaves your mind. It's like any founder will tell you, it's like a disease that it never quite leaves your mind. How can I make it better? How can I improve it? So that often does happen, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends which way you look at it. And I always think about like my workout, because I try, if I can, to work out every morning at some point. So if I don't get it done in the morning, it will never happen. So when I get up, I'm like, oh, any emergencies, anything I need to deal with? No, then I go work out, then I get into my day. So two things for me. That's my life on repeat, Groundhog Day.
I like that. Very good. As a founder, like, where do you get your inspiration and motivation from?
Shelley says I need therapy, so I'll probably need to go and have some at some point when I've got a bit more time, and I'll probably give you a more
hold on. The whole point of therapy, Tom, is you get it before you need it.
Oh,
so
all right.
You should start.
It might be too late. It might as well no point.
You need to start looking at it now.
All right. I'll start looking now. No, I don't know. Like I think I learn in what people would consider normal ways now, right? Like visual and audio, like. So I think at school I was a bit of a like DC student, like just generally, because I didn't always take to probably the learning methods that, when we were younger. So I think maybe my motivation comes from just feeling mediocre at school and wanting to just prove that I'm better than that. And I think if I analyze it and look back now in my late 30s, probably comes from there, mate, if I'm being honest, like just generally being bang average at school and thinking, how can I be better, and I need to prove that to family, friends, whatever. So it probably comes from there.
Oh, fantastic story. I like that. Do you remember your first experience of sales?
Yes. Yeah, I was talking about this the other day. So my dad works in car sales. Yeah. And he was a GM of like showrooms, but then he had his own car business at one point. So like, I'm not joking. If there was a teacher training day or something like that, I would be in the back of whatever random car him and his mate had brought, with a blanket over me, with like sweets or whatever, be going around. Whether it's like Only Fools and Horses, mate, like Rodney and Delboy, like selling cars. I'm not joking. Going to secondhand car dealerships, flogging this car, flogging that car. So that's when I was like 6 or 7, and then I was always in car showrooms as a kid because my dad would be there working Saturdays, or his mates would be there. So I think I was exposed sort of subconsciously to sales, like from a really early age, because of that. So yeah, that was my first experience. And like I used to hang out in the used car showroom with the 20-year-old sales guys when I was like 12 or 13 and have like a laugh with them and things like that. So yeah, that was kind of exposed to it really early, I think.
Yeah, that's a great experience. You would have picked up a lot. Do you think
good and bad habits?
Well, I was going to ask, do you think car selling has changed somewhat since you were running around as a 6-year-old in the showrooms?
I think every type of sales has massively changed because the consumer has so much more information at their fingertips. Doesn't matter if you're buying software or a car. And my dad will bang on about this more, but like the car market's totally changed. Like the margins aren't in it what it used to be. people will be making their decision by the time they've walked in in the showroom, right? Because they can make their decision. They've made their mind up from looking online or seeing stuff on Instagram. So it's changed across the board massively, I think, just because of the amount of information that people have.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. What did you do that made you successful at each stage of your career? So thinking about those transitions as you went from an individual contributor to a sales leader to now a founder, what made you successful in particular?
Yeah, I thought about this actually, and it's not often you get asked these questions, and that I just took risks. And I see it now with people internally or externally, and they go for the safe option or the easy thing, or they don't want to do the job below first or take that lower pay. So I was 18, I've just moved to London. I grew up down near Brighton, a place called Worthing. I was like, there's not enough for me here, I'm going to go. I went and lived in my auntie's spare room and just tried to get a job, and got loads of rejection for 3 or 4 months, spending a summer on a sofa almost, so each part of my life I moved to London, and I moved into B2B with no experience. I just said I'm going to do it. I moved to New York. I started my own company. Every time they were huge risks, right? But I didn't kind of see it like that. I'm just like, I have to do this to make the change. But if I look back retrospectively, it would just be about not being scared to take a risk. Every time I've been successful, it's because I've taken a risk.
Brilliant. I love that. Yeah, you absolutely are a risk taker, but it's playing out well, which we like to see. And on that, what is Jiminny all about? Help the listeners understand. Give us an overview of Jiminny as a company.
Yeah, so I think where we help companies is most of our customers want to create a high performance sales team. They want to create a culture where their team can thrive, and our software helps them do that. So it's conversation intelligence. We're recording, transcribing, and analyzing voice, video, email to help them increase conversion rates and drive more sales. The software gives them great recommendations and indications of what to do, but really where we're special is we help them take that data and apply it to using it every day within their teams. That's the key part.
Awesome. And as a company,
mm-hmm.
What do you have in the DNA that makes it a special place to work?
Well, we have embedded, like, people talk about values all the time, but we definitely have embedded values that are lived and breathed by the team every day. So not what I call like wallpaper values. So they're values that were written before we wrote a line of code. Like, me and James built this house. We have to be happy that we're living in it. That's what you do when you build a company. You can't go, oh God, I don't like my house, it's got a basement in it. It's like with your tech company, like, you built it, so don't moan about it, right? You've got to create the environment that you want. But no, we try and have a really open culture where everyone can kind of speak up and really is passionate about the customer and supporting each other. And I think, at the end of the day, it's about creating a place where culture is created by great values, and that's how you live and work and operate together. So the culture is that, for me.
So what are the attributes of people that you look to have come and join Jiminny? So if someone was listening to this thinking, yeah, I'm interested in joining Jiminny, what makes someone a good fit for Jiminny?
Well, the recruiting is tough as we sit here today, right? In 2022, it's not what, go back pre-pandemic, it was a different situation. But we have a strategy. I think it depends on the role. We've been really capital efficient as a business and have a certain strategy, but I look for will over skill all day, because you can teach skill, but you can't teach will. And I think when you're scaling and growing, you need that. So we look for people who are on their next step on the journey and feel like they have something to achieve and something to prove. It's almost like in football, right? I could get, it's like I'm a massive Tottenham fan, and forever that is painful. But their strategy at the moment is they go and buy people from Barcelona or Juventus who feel like they're doing us a favour coming to the team, right? Whereas years ago, they'd buy someone from like Ajax who's on the way up, and they feel like they've got something to prove and they'll be a superstar at Spurs. And I'm going back to like what Spurs' recruitment strategy was like 5-6 years ago. We're looking for rising stars. So maybe someone who's been a great BDR for 2 years, who's looking for that first chance to prove themselves as an AE, and we'll invest in them. We'll make them great. They'll come on the journey, and I think that's where we like to operate, because I think it gives us an advantage as well, rather than looking for the finished article all the time.
Yeah,
I guess.
I like that. That's a great. I mean, it relates to your story of potential. You've taken risks in your own career, and now you're taking somewhat of a risk on certain people that aren't the finished article, but you're giving them a chance and you're giving them the resources. And the great thing about Jiminny, you've got your own product to help coach and develop people. So you're focused on creating a coaching and coaching environment which will help enhance people's skills.
No one's a finished article, though. Remember that,
true.
Of course.
That's true. Well, if you are, you're going in the wrong direction. You're probably going backwards if you consider yourself a finished article.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So what's the ambition of Jiminny? Where are you taking Jiminny as a business?
Well, I think there's the mission part of it. Like, we've got to hundreds of customers, helping sales and customer success being the best version of themselves every day. So I'm really proud of where we've got to at that point. How it becomes a bigger piece, I think, 20-30% of our customers are starting to do this anyway, but how does this tool help the whole business? So really where conversation intelligence is going is that, the whole business will learn from the voice of the customer. Every data point and interaction across every team will be used to drive better results. So, sales use case for early adopters, but as we grow and develop and we look at how we develop the product and how we help other teams, I think it becomes such a central tool for the whole business to get better, long term. Yeah.
Good, very cool. All right, moving into sales a little bit about your own experience of sales. What book has had the most impact on your career?
I was laughing because I'm not a big reader. I tend to let Shelley read a book and then give me the synopsis, and then I sort of think that it's my wife, by the way. And then I claim that I've read it. But the last book I read, probably Matilda as a kid. No, I'm joking. So I think honestly, probably the biggest impact of any book, because I know people, it's much more well known now, but probably Simon Sinek's Why. I just generally think when you're selling, and talk about sales confidence, James, and the great things that you guys do, it's not about what you sell, it's about how you sell it. It's about how you sell it, and the why and the how of your business, of your sales team, of yourself. That's probably definitely, if I look back over the last sort of 10-12 years of my career, that book's had the biggest impact on me for sure. Love it.
That's fantastic. What are the best salespeople that you've come across? What attributes do they have that you see make them really good at what they do?
My views probably changed over the years, right? Because you can talk about, like, even when you're looking at people, like what's the culture fit, what's the skill fit, how are they going to fit into the team, what's that dynamic going to look like, is that going to work? And then also there's the mindset, and I think the best salespeople have the best mindset. They're the most resilient, they're the most brave, and I think that has a lot to do with it, really, because everything else can be learned. That's a much harder thing to teach, because like sales, as we know, and life is full of rejection. It's like, why do the best athletes make it? Probably because they've got the best mentality. No different, it's no different in business. I think very similar.
So you've got to look for that in individuals. You've got to look for those innate traits that make someone great, and then you can fill the gaps on skills and competencies.
It's not easy to find. You can't have people faced adversity. Most people have in some way, shape, or form, but it's then how do you deal with that adversity that gets thrown up at you, and what does that make you become? I think that's what I tend to try and look for in hiring people, especially in sales. What's their mindset, what's their resilience, how brave are they going to be, take risks.
That makes sense. Where do you see the future of sales going? Where do you see the future of sales going?
Well, inevitably there'll be a lot more AI and a lot more automation. Of course, we're only on the SaaS journey, and so we're going for a digital revolution, right? Like, I think people will look back over the history of time, like the Industrial Revolution, and say from the internet till the next 10-15 years, it's been like a digital revolution. But I think sales is changing. Obviously, it will just become an extension of customer success. I can see it already in SaaS, where if you're a successful SaaS business, your 60, 50, 60, 70% of your revenue is coming from customer success, from expansion, from upsell. You look at all the big stories, RingCentral, Salesforce, like how much of their revenue comes from the existing install base. So sales has become more consultative. It will become even more consultative. You're kind of just, that customer journey just starts earlier and earlier. So I just feel like customer success will eat sales. Does that make sense? Like, I just think you're talking, sales used to be king, and like, looking after the customer. People used to put a server in the corner of the office, sell a 5-year, 4-year deal and forget about it, right? Like, everything's changed, but I just feel like customer success will become king and sales will just feed into that.
That's really interesting.
View. Yeah.
I like that. That is really interesting. Thank you for sharing. Okay, moving on to a bit about you and yourself as an individual, your confidence. Like, where do you get your confidence from to do what you do?
It's definitely a learned behavior. It's not something that comes naturally to me. Like, I did a webinar yesterday, and being open, I was like, but not nervous, but not nice bit of energy that you have before you're doing something that you don't do every day, that you're not completely. The more you do these things, the more confident you get. It's just like practice, right? But for me, confidence is a kind of learned behavior, kind of like I kind of like have to go, right, I'm putting my game face on, because you are different, like in work or out of work. Like, my job is to support my team, push energy into them, make them feel great, all of those other things that you do every day. But yeah, for me, confidence, it's definitely probably a learned behavior over time, but I've had to really work on it. Like anything, it doesn't just, you can't just say, this person's confident. You build that up in your personality as you mature or get older. So yeah, it's definitely something I've worked on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. When during your career journey have you experienced and overcome some hardships?
I've been very lucky, like I've had a lot of success wherever I've been. So I'm very humble and grateful for that. There's a lot of hard work that's gone into it as well. I think when you first start something new, you're going to have some hardships. So like when I first moved to London and I was applying for my first job, and I ended up selling gym memberships in a brand new gym in Paddington, right? Like, I don't know how many jobs I went for that summer as an 18-year-old, all around London, everywhere, for 3 months. And eventually I got one. But, that's just something you have to grind out and do. Don't know anyone, haven't got many connections, just got to just suck it up and just try and find a way to worm your way in. It's just,
Not everyone's willing to do it, though. So you've got to have it in you to push through those barriers and overcome those obstacles. And, it's a testament to the character that you've got to be an individual that wants to overcome those challenges and push through the barrier. Yeah.
And then, when you start a business and 90% of people you meet think it's a crap idea, or it's not going to work, or they've got somewhere else to put their money. Like, being a founder and raising capital is probably the most demoralizing thing you can probably do, right? It's even worse than, like, when you've got a great product and you're selling and you're closing 25, 30, 40% of the time, still getting all that rejection. But I think just going out there at different stages of the business, I think it gets easier over time. But most founders say the first raise or the second raise is really tough, right? And then they become easier the more that you do them and the bigger the business gets.
I love that.
Yeah. Because no one sees, like, that's the thing with people's mentality as well. Like, just to jump on that, like on LinkedIn, you'll go on LinkedIn and all you'll see is like, oh, this company's a unicorn, it raised 300 million, and this one's like, and you can get yourself into a hole by just looking at what's on social. Whereas actually there's another 1,000 SaaS startups that didn't get money this week, or so you just got to sometimes give the perspective that what you're seeing is not the reality.
Well, it must be so difficult on the fundraising journey when essentially you're carrying your baby and people are telling you your baby's ugly because they're not wanting to invest in you. Like, that's got to be the harder rejection. When it's a product that you represent, you can kind of move on, as you say, and you're going to get some wins eventually, as you will with funding. But I think you're putting your whole self on show. You're being vulnerable and you're highlighting what's amazing about this baby that you've created, and they turn around and say, actually, no, we don't rate it, we don't think it's any good. That's tough because that hits you right in the heart, I can imagine.
Yeah, but everyone thinks their kids are cute. Doesn't matter. That's the thing, right? So that is true. That's why you can deal with it, probably.
Absolutely. So what do you think others can do? If you were advising, if you had your team members in front of you, what advice would you give to them to help them develop their own confidence?
I think the biggest thing for me is to try new things and set yourself goals, like mini, micro goal, whatever. Like, I think sometimes people get mistaken. Oh, I'm bored in this job or bored in this role, but then often you're not pushing yourself to do something you haven't done before. So I think mainly that you get anxiety from doing new things. You go up and you talk on stage, or you're presenting in front of your own team or whatever. But one of the things I do in one-to-ones is like, what are you doing on the mastery side, whether it's inside or outside of work, to challenge yourself? So that's something that we work on in one-to-ones. And we have like a new value that we launched at Jiminny called like Be Curious. And it's like to do new things. And then there's a book benefit around it. And every quarter someone can order themselves a book, that they want, inside or outside of work, about developing their self and being curious about that. And I think it's just pushing yourself to try new things, because that's what ends up giving you more confidence. And we're talking about self-confidence and developing yourself. If you don't do different or new things, then you're probably going to stagnate.
Good advice. You talked about it earlier, that you get up and think about your workout in the morning. Like, how do you manage your own health and well-being overall? Anything else that you do? So you highlighted that you exercise most mornings when you can. And by the way, actually, I'm going off tangent here, but we talked about those fitness boxes that you get delivered.
Oh yeah.
I've just been using Gusto, I think it's called. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think the French might be upset with you, James, but yeah, no. No, I think English Gusto, yeah.
Gusto, okay. Yeah. Well, I've been finding it really. This is another plug for them. But I've been finding it super helpful to have the food organized, ready for you in the set ingredients that you can then just cook and gather. So that's a highlight of my week recently. I've been getting my box once a week. But anyway, it's about you. So what do you do to manage your health and well-being?
I'm really good at being dedicated to like exercise and being healthy, and making sure like I balance diet. So they're two things I do well. I'm really bad at sleep, like not because I can sleep anywhere. Once you've had 3 kids, over 10 years, you'd sleep anytime you can, but I just don't I probably get an hour and a half less than I should. So if I'm being honest, I need to manage my sleep better. I know it's really important. It's just I'm not very good at that side of it. But the bit that I am good at is just being really organized with nutrition, whether it's like, fresh fitness foods or Huel or whatever I'm doing. I'll just make sure that no matter how busy I am, that's just organized and done for me. So exercise and food, the things that I just pre-plan and make sure that I don't have to think about. And then, at least I'm getting something right. So.
Yeah, good. All right, final question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I'm just interested, do you invest, like, obviously you don't have commission, or you may not take commission and bonuses, but
No.
over the years that you've got, additional finance, what do you invest in? I guess you're investing in your company. That's your greatest asset that you've got. But is there anything else that you do?
I mean, when I go back in time, when I was really young and I was selling, and then I was a sales leader, I just put all my money into property. That was what I did when I was younger. I could have bought a flashy car or done whatever, but no, I just bought a house and renovated it, or a flat in London and renovated it. So, I did that in the early days because it gives you a good foundation. Now I do more of that, and I look to support other companies or be an LP in an investment fund or things like that to try and give back and help and advise in other ways. So I tend to do that a little bit more now, but that comes with time, right? Depending on
what stage you are at your career. But I like that. Okay, what are your final thoughts that you would like to share with the audience? Any final takeaway or knowledge you would like to impart?
No, I think some of your questions are really good because they made me think about things, and that's why I love doing stuff like this, because often you don't get time for reflection. But no, I think if anyone's listening to this today and they're on their way up in their career, I think take risks, and push yourself, and try things that make you feel uncomfortable. That would be the things that I look back and think that's where success has come from, by taking risks and trying new things constantly.
Brilliant. There it is. You've heard from Tom Lavery, the founder of Jiminny. This has been a fantastic conversation. Just hold your horses. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you for listening to Sales Confidence. If you want to learn more, go to salesconfidence.com. And is it Jiminny? What's your URL, Jiminny?
Yeah, JIMINNY, Jiminny.com, and you can speak to the team there.
Brilliant. Awesome. Cheers, Tom.